Hello and welcome to the Game Birds. I'm Bree.
And I'm Alice.
And we are childhood friends who love indie games and love to talk about them. And today we will be discussing Balatro. And this was Alice's pick this time. So Alice, tell me a little bit why you picked this game.
Actually, someone gifted me this game when it came out earlier this year in February. And I was just immediately hooked. Like I binged over 140 hours just immediately. I feel like I spent like 2 weeks just constantly playing Balatro and trying to get myself to stop playing Balatro and not play Balatro during meetings and like try to pay attention. And I picked this because I know it is a game that you would not normally play or think to play. And I wanted to test out if I could get you to like a card game, a roguelike deck building random card game, just out of curiosity, just out of pure curiosity.
When I was talking about this to my partner, the first thing they said, Balatro, I don't think you're going to like that game. Even when you mentioned it, I was like, of all the games we picked so far, this is deviating the most from everything else. So this was definitely a different pick for me. This is not a game I would pick for myself, but I will say the first day I played it for 4 hours straight. I was very sick and I got into it very quickly. As of right now, I'm at about 9 hours of playtime, and there is still way more where that came from.
Balatro at its core is poker. Every round, you are trying to hit a certain score to win. You only have by default 4 poker hands to play to hit that score. Poker hands you play are scored as a combination of chips times a multiplier. Something like a pair is going to have a lower base score than a full house. After each round, you get to visit the shop and buy all sorts of goodies with your winnings. And what makes Balatro interesting is, first, it's single player. You're not playing poker against anybody. You're the only one making hands. And you have this concept of joker cards where this adds flair or flavor or different point multipliers or all sorts of things to the game itself. It quickly becomes this deck building strategic game where it's getting harder and harder. You have to get more and more a higher score to continue, but you're taking these different types of specialized joker cards to totally change the game up. Like you could make it so a pair is worth a ton of points because you have a bunch of jokers that give you multipliers for having only played 3 cards or less, or you've upgraded your pair score a ton via what they call the planet cards. So there's all these elements that make this game a roguelike, if you will, poker game. And I can get into the drama around using the word roguelike here, but it is essentially a deck building poker game with a lot of modifiers and fun flair.
Part of why I was a little hesitant to play this game is I'm not good at cards. I don't know how to play poker. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be terrible at this. But just let me, ease anybody's minds that maybe are thinking the same thing. You do not need to know how to play poker to play this game. You do not need to be good at cards. Really, which I believe, Alice, is the advice you gave me as well. You could really just do pairs the whole time. Pairs are 3 of a kind. But if you're not quite sure how to set everything up, I will say the game really has a nice tutorial and kind of throws you right into it without too much hand holding. It's very short. I would say it's like maybe a 5-minute tutorial. It gives you all of the details you need to know. And you can start, again, simple with just pairs, 3 of a kind, as you learn more. In fact, I feel like I've learned so much about cards just playing this game. So that's been very helpful. And you mentioned the jokers, which is one factor of how to enhance the gameplay here. But also there's tarot cards, there's spectral cards, there's celestial cards. And all of these add different elements to your gameplay, which is super fun. I have not beaten the game yet, I will say. I'm a little sad about that. I'm going to try to. But it is fun because I think it's a constant learning process. I was trying to time, in fact, how long an average game is. And hilariously, when I did that, I only got to 15 minutes because I kept losing every time. Which will definitely happen as you're playing this game. Sometimes you just get a bad hand. Sometimes the jokers do not work in the way you think they will. And it can be frustrating, but then you're like, okay, one more round. Okay, one more round. And that's how you get into the 2, 3, 4 hours of gameplay at a time, I think.
Yeah, this game has a lot of RNG. Part of that comes with any sort of card game, and there's randomness involved, and you might just get a bad hand and you're just kind of shit out of luck. But you also just don't know what blind you're going to get at the end of 3 rounds. So there's this boss element to it. The boss could have some sort of power like, oh, all heart cards are not worth anything. And
basically how every round is set up is there is a small blind, a big blind, and a boss blind. You are able to skip the small and the big. You can go straight to the boss. You may not want to do that for a variety of reasons, but that can make the gameplay a lot faster. The boss blind just adds so much challenge because you never know quite what you're going to get. One of the ones I have come across quite often, it was the most challenging for me, is that you can't play any cards that you've played previously. Ooh, that is so challenging because especially if you played the other blinds, if you did not skip all the way through, you probably played a lot of different cards. So it adds like a really fun, challenging element to it. I was playing every single blind the first few hours I was playing this because I was like, oh, well, I want to see what other jokers I can get. I want to see what other celestial cards I can get.
So if you skip that entire round, you also skip the store. So they give you a little tag. So for instance, one of the tags you can collect is, oh, when you beat the boss, you're going to get $25 instantly after beating the next boss.
Yes. And honestly, that was my biggest fear when I was first playing. I was like, oh no, I can't go to the store. And then honestly, literally, I believe this morning I started skipping blinds and I was like, oh, okay. So there's still a slight disadvantage because you don't get to go to the store and see different options. But to your point, there are other advantages to doing that and also can just go through gameplay a little quicker.
I also play really fast. I'm just kind of like brainlessly, mindlessly clicking and like playing and trying to make decisions quick and having fun. But at any point during this game, you can slow down. There is a menu that shows you every single type of hand type, like, oh, flushes are currently worth this much. And there's another menu that shows you, oh, here are the exact amount of cards left in your deck. Here's how many kings are left in your deck. Here's how many hearts are left in your deck. So if you want to sit there and strategize and read all of your jokers and look at your current hand and look at your scoring and look at what's left in your deck and decide if you're going to discard or draw and decide what kind of hand you're going to play, you could sit there and do math. I just don't personally like playing that way unless I'm at the very end and really trying hard to just beat this boss or something like that. I'm just more of a like mindless, let's just play for fun sort of situation. But I think having those elements allows you to slow down and be strategic if you really want to.
I love that you have those options too. Something that I've been finding very interesting about this game is the amount of collectibles in this game. In the main menu, there's a little collectibles option. There, I believe, is over 150 jokers you can get. There is like 24 different tarot cards. There's a bunch of different spectral cards you can get. The collectibles are damn near endless. There's hundreds of them. I mean, I've been playing for almost 9 hours and I have not even seen all of them.
There's just so much here. There's just so many different types of cards, so many different types of multipliers, and you will lose a lot and you will have to start over a lot. Part of what makes it sort of like a roguelike like is that you will unlock more types of jokers, more types of tarot cards, all of these different types of modifiers the more you play.
And this is just a very small note that I just appreciated. So it'll give you like a little red notification bubble when there's something new. You don't have to click on it. You could just hover over it and the notification goes away, which is very lovely because as I was like playing through, I had so many new collectibles and I had so many notifications. You just hover over it and then it's gone. I was like, oh, yay. Okay. I don't have to like individually click on all these. Like it's a small detail, but I really enjoyed that. And honestly, that's been like my main goal. I've been playing every single blind because I've been trying to get every joker, see what they all do. I have gotten all the tarot cards now. It can be a collectathon as well. Like there's so many different ways you could play this game. Depending on how much time you have, how much energy you have, you could really like rapid fire go through a game and not think too much about it. I think this is like one of those perfect like after work games or like early morning before work games because it can just be a 15-minute session if you're just like really quickly playing through. Let's just see how far I can get rapid fire here. Or you can sit there and strategize. There's really a lot of ways to customize this gameplay. Something I did want to mention, especially about the store, is that what is a very small but a great quality of life feature is that if you have not discovered that card yet, it will tell you that, especially if you're like looking to collect like new jokers, new celestial cards, anything like that. When you hover over it, it'll say not discovered yet. So then that means, okay, this is not in my collection. I'm going to buy this one or not. I think that's very helpful because obviously there's over 150 jokers in this game. There's so many different celestial cards and things like that. So to keep track of that on your own would probably be impossible. So again, it's just a small detail that I really, really love. Another small thing we didn't mention, which I completely forgot about, was vouchers. There's also vouchers, which is another thing that's sometimes in the store that can add small bonuses to your game. One can make a discount for the store for you, like 25% off certain cards. Some can make certain cards appear more often in the store. It can do a lot of different things. So every time you play this game can be a different experience, which I think is so fun. Again, I've put about 8 hours into this game already. We talk a lot about like cost of games versus how much gameplay you get out of this. I feel like the amount of gameplay you could get out of this is like damn near infinite, I would say. This game is standardly $14.99. It is on sale right now at the summer sale, 10% off for $13.49. I've only had this for like a week or so, and I've put 8 hours into it. I am still going to keep playing it, and I love it. So, and I'm sorry, Alice, how many hours did you say you have in this?
I think I'm up to about 148 hours. I have 141 out of the 150 jokers, so I have not been able to get all the jokers. I have 14 out of 15 decks, because yes, even your deck itself has different modifiers to it. And I've beat 17 out of 20 challenges. So I have played this game for literal weeks nonstop, and I have not collected everything. And part of that is like some of them are just harder challenges. Like you've got to be really specific with a very specific hand or a very specific thing to get that unlock. So some of the unlocks are just really hard. That being said, even where I am at with that, like I feel really great about the collection I've built. Like it's very satisfying. I've played this game way too much, clearly. And I don't even think I'm that great at this game. To be perfectly honest, I can be much better at this game when I slow down and think and try to math and stuff. But I just have so much fun playing fast and goofing around and like trying different jokers out and trying different combinations that I don't really care that I'm not always the best. Don't worry, Bree. You're not that far in. You can definitely get to the 8th boss eventually. It just takes practice and finding that sort of combination that you really find fun.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Another thing I forgot about is upgrading like your standard deck as well. There's so many different ways to upgrade that as well. There's like gold cards, there's seals, there's glass cards. There are so many things that you can do to kind of make this a little, I don't want to say easier, but can add just like a different challenge to each round, which I think makes it so fun. But again, this is coming as somebody who doesn't often play card games, and I was really fearful going into this. It's been so fun for me. I have only made it up to Ante 6, but honestly, I have focused way more on collecting. To your point, I think if I sat down and like strategized a little more, I think I could be better at it. I have learned that because I was focusing so much on just the jokers, which are super helpful, depending on what you get though. Sometimes you just go to the store and you don't get jokers that are not working for you at all. But it does also help to upgrade your deck as much as possible, so you have extra little things, and sometimes even just like small things, like if I keep this gold card in my hand till the end of the round, I get $3 extra, and then I could buy a different celestial card, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of different ways to upgrade each round, which is super fun. I was going to ask if you know offhand, are there any jokers that are your absolute favorite?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I would need to like look at the list of jokers. I do like a couple of the long game jokers. One of the ones that I like playing is Hiker, especially if I can get it early in the game. I always want to play Hiker. It's just fun. It adds +5 chips to every single card permanently. So I played a 2. It scored only 2 points, 2 chips, but every time I played it, I got +5 because of the Hiker. So now that 2 is worth 22 chips after a few plays. Love using the Hiker. And similarly, there's like a dagger, I believe, that like eats the joker next to it and adds that to, is it chips or multiplier? Like it's been a minute. Adds it to your multiplier. And I really love like, just like what joker do I want to sacrifice into the dagger this time to like get more multiplier. I find that really fun as well if you have enough money to buy jokers anyway.
The only 2 jokers that I'm thinking of right off the bat, because there are a lot of different fun ones. I do like, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like a randomized multiplier. It's a cool like glitchy card. Sometimes it's like ×2, sometimes it's like ×16. That like, especially if I'm not really looking to win, I think that's just like a fun one because like sometimes it just like is amazing. Sometimes it kind of fucks you over. I also like, there is a card that allows any card you play to be scored. That is very helpful, especially just sometimes you get a shit hand, you try to discard and you just keep getting bad hands and you're like, okay, I have nothing here, but at least I can get some sort of points for this round. Then with my multipliers, maybe I can make this worth my time. So those are my 2 favorite I've come across so far, but I'm sure that I think I've only discovered, I want to say 100 so far, maybe not even. So there's still a lot more for me to see.
There's more. Yeah, I'm just like looking through the cards right now. I'm like, oh, I love so many of these. I will say this though, you mentioned the gold cards. So your economy is very important. You need money to buy stuff from the store. You do get interest at the end of the round based on how much money is still in your hand. Generally, my strategy is try to get to and stay around at least $20 to $25 so that I'm always getting as much interest as possible. So just another strategy on top of all the different strategies too is like, okay, how do I make sure my actual economy is healthy enough so that when I do get to the store, I can buy a rare joker if it appears? Or do I make myself broke off the bat because I want to get something that appeared that's really good really early.
Something that I do a lot in my games is like I try to fill my Joker slots as much as possible. Even if I don't think that that particular Joker will help me too much, I just want to make sure that I have that stacked so I have those multipliers going. And then you'll keep going to the store and I'll see different Jokers. And I'm like, okay, well, now I have to decide which Jokers are actually helping me in this and switch that out. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. So, man, I can't wait to play this again after this call is done. So...
Okay, we've talked a lot about Balatro. I feel like we, for the first time, blinked and recorded for 30 minutes.
Whoops.
Very quickly. No, it's great. No, it's there's so much to say about this game. I guess just to touch on a couple pieces real quick. Some of the games we've already played had very specific art styles. Cute storybook, brightly colored. Balatro is not only different with the genre, we're talking again deck building roguelike card game, but I think also the art as well, definitely not in the same vein of what we've been playing before. Brie, what did you think about the art?
Yeah, I feel like of all the games we've played, this has like the most simple layout of everything. Like it's not super detailed, like very standard, like solitaire looking cards. I don't even know how to quite describe it. It's definitely simple. Like the whole layout of the game is very simple. And even the tarot cards, the images they have on them are not super detailed, but you could tell what card they are. I think it suits this kind of game so well. There's already a lot going on in this game in terms of, again, like all the different upgrades you can do, all the different, the tarot cards, the celestial cards. There's so many things to look at. So honestly, I think this kind of more simple style suits this kind of game because it's still very appealing and it's still very easy to read.
Readability is really important to me. I have, maybe I shouldn't diagnose myself too much on the pod, but definitely have some dyslexic tendencies when it comes to reading. And I struggle a lot, especially with like pixel games sometimes with the actual font. I do play this game, I want to say, at speed 2. Are you still playing at speed 1? Just curious.
I did not know you could adjust the speed, so yes.
If you're a fast player like me, I do love playing at speed 2. The only reason I don't go to speed 4 is because I think it might be unhealthy for me and I might never leave the game. The default animation speed, it totally makes sense for the game, but because I'm so impatient and so just wanting to keep going, go, like I love that I can play faster as well.
I didn't know that was a feature. That was super, super cool. When you start a game, there's also an option to like have like a slight buff to start with, depending on like what deck you start with. So you can start with like an additional $10. You could start with an extra hand, an extra discard. So that adds like a fun element to this as well. I usually start with the $10 because even when you win, you don't get a lot of money. So you have to be careful about that spending. So just a small note I wanted to make.
Some of the later decks, you could even argue, are not buffs. So one of them is the Abandoned deck where you have no face cards at all to start.
Interesting.
So the deck can also give you a challenge too and change your gameplay up entirely and change what kind of jokers are actually going to help you.
That's so cool though, because I feel like that just speaks to like the replayability of this game. Like I think you could really play this game forever if you wanted to. And I feel like this is one of those games that I'm probably going to like be obsessed with for a while and then forget about and then get back into. Yeah, if at any point you're like, oh, this isn't challenging enough for me, there are a lot of ways to up that challenge as you see fit, which is such a fun feature.
For me, this is a full replacement for Microsoft Solitaire. I don't know if you've opened the Microsoft Casual Games app or whatever it's called lately, but there's literal ads and they want you to pay subscription fees and it is garbage. I'm obviously not against spending some money. Like Balatro, $15, fine. It's worth it for sure. For an indie dev especially and not for a, mega billion-dollar corporation. But this for me is like, fine, I can play this forever. Brie, I want to give you the last word on this. This was entirely out of left field for you. Do you think you're going to keep playing this game as well?
No question. I'm like, genuinely, I'm going to play this afterwards. Like, I so appreciate you picking this game because, again, this was definitely out of my comfort zone and I was very hesitant when you did. But I was like, okay, that's exactly why we're doing this podcast, to expose each other to different games. And this was such a pleasant surprise for me. This is such a fun, fast-paced game. And I could see, again, myself playing this for a long time.
I do want to quickly just shout out the developer is Local Thunk. This game came out in February 2024. It is a single player game, like we said. It's available on PC and Switch. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Brie, what are we playing next? It's your turn to pick.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Well, Alice, what we're going to pick is Gardener in the Wild Vines, and I'm very excited about it.
Sweet, I've never heard of it. We'll see you next time. Thanks everyone, and bye, Brie.
Bye. Wowee.